Hello everyone and welcome back to Let's Play Blaster Master 02. In the last part we explored all of Area F2 fighting Stein in the process, and now we're back in F1 to go fight the boss mutant for this planet. Full Excel Blast unleashes a sphere of immense energy. It won't fire at all unless your SP is 100% full. Press the sub weapon button once to consume MP and begin generating the energy sphere. You can move while charging it, but if an enemy comes into contact with the sphere, you'll lose a level of charge. SP will be consumed until it is fully charged. Firing the cannon into the sphere will help charge it, as well as utilizing the GAIA system. Be careful not to shut down while you're charging though. While the sphere is deployed, press the sub-weapon button again to launch it. Everything I explained at the end of last part, basically. So thankfully, we don't need to go too far to find our way to the boss mutant for this planet. You might remember very early on in this era, we saw some cracked dimensional distortions. We could just destroy those with the Axel burst and find ourselves at the boss fight almost immediately. Kinda cruelly, though. You can find the boss cavern in the ice area, you just can't reach it from there. And there we go. And here we are. Yeah, you can find yourselves all the way on the right. In fact, during the speed up on our way out of Area F2 last time, you even could see this door because I paused in front of it for a few seconds like, damn it, so close. With that said, something I should talk about that I did bring up last time on the way out, because I was talking about the XL burst, is Stein himself. Similarly to several other characters we've encountered throughout the game, Stein is based off a prior Sunsoft character. He's namely based off Sukezaemon from Sunsoft's Hebereke. It is funny and worth noting, though, most of the characters were based off other Sunsoft properties in this game. The inspiration's very clear and direct, even if it gets a little looser as we go. Stein is easily the loosest with that, because let's think about Stein's character design. Big dude, buff, engineer, chest hair, gruff looking. In general, just strongman kind of vibes. The character he's based off of is a ghost with a cap that has wings on it, and sunglasses. Notably, he was designed on that as a base, compared to some of the others, which is a little more direct. I've never played the Hebereke games, though. From what I remember, that particular character was Sunsoft's mascot for a while. And there's supposedly a new game coming out in the next year or so that, if it gets released stateside, I'm gonna need to look into that, because I remember watching gameplay of at least the first one at some point along the line. Because I was looking into Sunsoft stuff and games that never came over to the West at the time. There are a lot of interesting notes that I haven't talked about with the character design stuff. Like, apparently at one point, Stein was meant to be like a dinosaur man, they just went away from that idea. And the main reason we know about these, as I think I brought up earlier, there's PowerPoint slides they basically showed off on Twitter, and I think on maybe even live streams where they like showcased these early drafts and all that. And that's how we know about the direct bases of a lot of these characters on prior Sunsoft ones. Upcoming dumbass moment for me, by the way. Press this switch. I missed the switch, but I didn't realize that until 3 minutes later plus when I died and had to come back. Whoops. Like an interesting thing they did with particularly the Divido trio here. All of Adam's crew are based in some name after drinkware. Stein's named after a beer stein. Tesset's named after a tea set, and Mr. Mug, which is the support animal that I don't think we actively see in a direct screenshot, but he's like a little teddy bear guy, is based off a coffee mug, the shocker of shocks. Kind of goes into a thing I know other people have touched on at some points, where there are a lot of people out there who aren't the biggest fan of Inchi Create's work in terms of the game side of things, like specifically the Mega Man Zero games and all that. But I think no matter what, I think you really have to give it to their distinct art team, like character designers, musicians, sprite artists. There's so much effort and care on those aspects of their project, and it shows so much. Barring maybe that Love Live thing that I've heard is kind of a weird Metroidvania that they released earlier this year, but I haven't played it yet, so I'm gonna not judge it entirely yet. For now, time for the boss fight of this particular planet. So this is the boss mutant that made the dimensional distortions. This one gave Stein a lot of trouble, so be on your guard, Jason. Welcome to Digrawler, the Dimensional Glutton. The most basic attack Digrawler has is that it can just fire projectiles out of its eye, and you can easily blast counter that. Don't worry too much about that. Between its attacks, it's often going to move up and down between the room. All other attacks require its weak point, which is its open mouth, to be, well, open. Two of them involve these urchin enemies we've been seeing for several parts now. It can puke a few out just outright, which you can then whip into its mouth for mass damage, or it can shake the room after opening its mouth, which will then cause urchins and rubble to rain down. But also, if it's not at the lowest position it can be in the room, it can charge up its own Excel burst just about and nuke the entire area. You can protect yourself with that, though, using the pillars on the bottom of the screen. That's why those pillars are there and why the switches are there. They're there so you can protect yourself from death. I don't think it's outright instant death, but it does do a lot of damage, so be careful. Occasionally, it'll just open its mouth to roar and taunt you, but that just leaves it very open for damage. Whip strikes, using the grenade, all that, pretty good on this fight. It's not too hard. Mind you, that also depends on whether or not you come in here with an energy guard that can keep your whip level around. In the case you come in here without that, you're going to be in some trouble, admittedly. But I want to say if you just outright kill the urchins rather than knocking them into him, you can cause them to drop weapon up upgrades, so keep that in mind, I guess. I think in general, this game's bosses are relatively easy. I think Blaster Master bosses were at their hardest when the games were on the NES and Game Boy. And that's not because they were genuinely hard, it's just because you had a lack of ways to deal with them. More accurately, like, NES Blaster Master, yeah, you had the grenade trick for certain bosses, but a lot of them could still kind of mess you up. Blaster Master Boy, despite that not being a Blaster Master game, still had hard bosses, just more so to an annoyance than anything. Enemy Below is more or less the same as the first game on the whole. Access key 6, we're done here.
Testing. 1, 2, 1, 2. Is this right? Is this thing on?
I hear you loud and clear. Jason, how are you doing?
Stein, test it.
Jason, looks like you defeated that punk.
Sure did. Were you able to meet up with Tessit?
No, about that. Even with the mutant gone, the distortions are still there. What?
Looks like things aren't so simple.
This is no time for chuckles. Are you two okay with this?
No, I don't want to be a part.
Hey, don't worry yourself, Tess. When I finish Adam's repairs, I'll come pick you up straight away. So, keep on keeping on till then.
But...
With that out of the way, Jason, you should head to the next area.
Will you two be okay? Tessit seems to be pretty upset.
We can't keep relying on you. Besides, you've got things you need to do, don't you?
Jason, you should go. We can handle ourselves, somehow. Stein's true to his word. If he says he'll get me, he will.
Tessit?
There you go. You heard her. Good luck, Jason. Take care of the young lady, alright?
And we are now fully concluded here on Divido. Barring, of course, giving Stein that booster he's looking for, but we're not going to worry about that just yet. We're going to check out the next area first. Speaking of which, we're done here in Area F, so let's head on over to Area G. We've nearly reached our destination on this journey to planet Sophia. Eve seemed fine while we were on Divido, but ever since we left, she's been entering sleep mode quite frequently. It's difficult for her to even stand up from her seat in G-Sophia. I think Stein may have picked up on Eve's worsening condition. Jason... Eve. Hang in there. Just a bit further. Just a bit further indeed. And for now, we don't have a main planet. We just have some planetoids to check out, so let's head on in. Now, if there's anything I recommend before you actively head into any of the planets here on Area G, it's getting as much health and SP as you can, because frankly, you're probably gonna want it. Because, that music sounds a little ominous, doesn't it? I wonder why. He's back.
So, you have a name after all. Jason Fruitnik.
Leibniz, you again?
I've heard the stories about you. You're a hero who saved your home planet, right? Isn't that incredible? You've even saved other worlds as well. Now you've come all the way out here to save Area G.
I'm not doing this to be a hero, but even if I was... What's so bad about that? Is there some kind of problem with that?
Reason? No, you wouldn't tell anyone your reason for fighting. That's how you are, and that's why I despise you. So I'll just obliterate you, you and your doll.
Jason, looks like we've got a fight on our hands. So, I said back during the first Garuda fight that if you countered his abilities, there would be enhanced attacks down the line. This is the fight where that happens. If you countered abilities specifically, like using the repulsion upper if you had it on the charge, any attacks you did that to have now been powered up. Namely, when he does the three-way shots now, he's vulnerable for less time because the aim will shield itself during part of the attack. But you can still easily get some good damage in using the Revolt Buster there. During its charge, it now protects itself with energy, leaving explosions in its wake, and it's immune to damage in the repulsion upper's effects while that aura's around. But now you can stun Garuda out of the charge using a Burn Spark, which will leave them immobile for a moment and leave them vulnerable, but they will resume their charge after a second. The homing lasers, there's now an extra volley from the opposite direction, and it shields itself while firing them. But you can get some mass damage in that one by using the Excel Blast in its fully charged or supercharged states. The attack where the Garuda spawns the bits is probably now the most annoying, because not only does the Garuda shield itself if you counter that the first time around, but a multi-locked-on Hexa Missile will no longer one-shot them. Three-way shots and shielded charge that hit the bits now will cause them to shoot lightning straight downwards as well. With that said, if you beat a fully powered Garuda in this fight, you do get an achievement for doing that on versions that have achievements, so keep that in mind.
Damn it! Not again! Garuda, you always... This will have to wait. Next time I'll crush you.
Wait, leave this! He got away. Yeah, but now we can be sure his base is in this area. I'm sure he'll attack us again. The tunnel to Planet Sophia is just ahead of us. Just gotta keep it together and keep moving forward. But now we can move on to Planetoid G2, and this is where this is gonna be an interesting sector on a first playthrough, because the next two planetoids are largely based in something that we saw back in Blaster Master 01's Area Omega. We're gonna be dealing with two separate boss rushes. Here on G2, you're gonna be dealing with bosses you dealt with, namely in the Sophia itself. And it's not every boss you fought in the Sophia itself, it's usually just the boss mutants, so like Cerebos, Defend Them all of them. And they have some, I think, damage tweaks, but otherwise, don't worry too much. The most rough part of that boss rush is probably that they start you with Gather Vera, and that's just a marathon. But as you might have noticed, a little shortcut you can take to make things easier there. If you fully charge a Axel Burst, you can kill Cerebos in one shot, as a reference to using the Axel charge back in Skelebos in 01. But now we need to go to Planetoid G3, and we have another boss rush in here. This time, it's top-down Jason bosses, namely Mockrantula, I believe the slime boss from L229, and I forget what the other one is. This could be a little more annoying, actually, in some regards, if only because you can't rely on SP generation. You have whatever ammo you have, but still, good luck. But after all that, we just fought Garuda, so you're damn right we're getting a rematch in against Leibniz himself. Thankfully, they gave you a checkpoint before this one, at least, because otherwise this would be one hell of a marathon.
You must be tired of fighting the endless hordes of mutants. Right, hero?
Leibniz, why do you keep getting in our way?
The mere sight of you disgusts me. The way you live so carefree and how everything goes your way. The way you foolishly dote upon that broken doll, it's laughable. I couldn't do anything for my planet, or her. Why? How is it that you can?
Leibniz, so it's true.
Planet G. That's the name of the mutant overlord that completely destroyed the place that I once called home. You'll inevitably face Planet G if you stay on this path. However, you don't stand a chance against it.
How would you know? We won't know until we...
I know. Well, it's pointless to tell you now, right before you die. But I won't be satisfied to just let you be killed by that monster. I won't let it take anything else. I'll take it myself. Your hopes, your life, and your love. You hear me, Jason? I'll break it all. Everything you have.
Leibniz, by and large, doesn't bring a lot new to the table. It's just that the attacks have now been remixed, either go on longer, do more damage, or be faster. For instance, the whip attack now comes out faster, and if you counter it, you have to do upwards of 3 extra counters before you actively can stun Leibniz. The chakram attack goes on a bit longer as well, but now that you have the vector reflector blast counter from the first fight against them, you can actually use that to trigger a weakness as well, leaving them open for a counterattack. The main new thing Leibniz brings to this fight is that once he's in like the latter half or third of his HP, he will call in Garuda for a bombing run that will take up a large chunk of the arena. The only usual places you can evade it are by being in the direct middle of the screen, either vertically or horizontally, and it's pretty narrow to evade that. This fight can be rough, but I still think it's a very fun fight, really keeps you on your toes. I like fights like this in games like this. As long as the mechanics can support it, of course. Now, I already brought up the origins of Leibniz's design being based off a scrapped version of Jason from BMZ1, but something I did mention is the reason why they ultimately decided not to base Leibniz off a Sunsoft character. They thought it would be kind of weird to give a Sunsoft character this antagonistic an attitude, given how they just sort of let Inti Creates make these 3 games. And you know what? I can get that. There's a level it's like, why do we make a character that they made into a dick in our game? That just doesn't seem right. Also, a moment ago, and I think coming up in a second as well, we saw the Garuda bombing run. One of the easiest ways to avoid that is just to stick away from the corners in this fight after a certain point. But thankfully, whenever Leibniz moves to the center, there's a pretty good indication that he's going to use that move, so at least you can probably start gunning for him at that point. I'm gonna do this as well. Even though I wasn't that good at doing that, you really should use that mostly on the chakram. And there we go.
I guess I'm no match for a hero. Going to show mercy again, huh? That's what I hate about you. So that's exactly why I'll tell you something interesting. That dimensional tunnel to Planet Sophia? It's already under Planet G's control. Ugh. I told you, didn't I? You will inevitably face Planet G if you stay on this path. If you face it in battle, the worst will come to pass.
You said we had no chance of defeating it. Why are you so sure of that?
Well, you'll have to find out for yourself.
He's gone.
Hey, Jason? What do you think he meant by the worst will come to pass?
I don't know, but we'll have to fight Planet G if we hope to get to Planet Sophia. Yeah, we will. And now we have the planet map. But with that, I'm gonna need to end this off here. Thank you guys for watching, and in part 11, we're gonna check out what the planet here in Area G has to offer. See you guys then.